Knicks Bros TV here on Knicks Couch Report. This is kind of another hangout for us. I don't know if you guys noticed, every hangout that we do starts off with me laughing, but I just can't help it. My brother just makes me laugh. We'll go ahead and kind of get started. Last time we left off, I believe we just lost to the Raptors 108 to 118. Obviously, the Raptors are first in the Eastern Conference. And then we went ahead. We played the Christmas Day against the Wizards, and I don't know if anybody watched that game, but if you did, you noticed that Quincy Acey got ejected. But again, it was not a good performance by us whatsoever. It was one of those where we just kind of allowed the team come to Madison Square Garden take control. So D, what's your take on that game against the Wizards?
First of all, I want to say hi to our viewers and the subscribers that are going to watch this video. Listen, we haven't been performing well. I mean, especially at home, it feels like there's so much pressure on the players. I don't know if it's the pressure or just lack of the talent or whatever it is. When we are just at home, we don't perform the way we are supposed to, And Christmas Day game was another example, of that. Especially, when we play good point guards like Wall and Irvin and players like that, our weakness in the backcourt shows, and that's what we saw in that game.
That's a good
That
point.
John Wall was able to take the ball to the basket every time that he put his mind to it. He was able to get to the basket and score the ball.
Yeah.
And we had no answer for that. And as usual, guarding the three-point line was horrible. It's something that, I am so disappointed that we haven't been able to figure that out, and every team is taking advantage of that. But all in all, that game was another forgettable game for us, especially on Christmas Day. But what can you say? That's all we can do, especially with the injuries. We didn't have J.R. Smith. We didn't have Shumpert. Bargnani has been out since the beginning of the season. So, I don't remember if Amari played that game.
Amari
Uh,
did play that game.
he did. Okay. Yeah, but, and then you have AC getting ejected, which I found it totally, ridiculous. If
You know, it
you
looked
know
like
what? If anybody was going to eject it, they had to be ejected both of them. Because um, John Wall pushed him first before he went at him.
yeah.
So
And you could tell. I mean, when you
he
watch the
didn't
video,
punch, and he didn't punch him. If you see him, it was like a forearm to his shoulder. It wasn't that he punched him or anything. But in my opinion, if anybody was ejected, it should have been both of them at the same time. But as this season been going, you always get the short end of the stick all the time.
I thought you made a really good point as far as us being able to not be able to keep up with fast point guards. And I think what it really just comes down to, it's not really just the fundamentals of being able to cover someone. It just comes down to speed. Calderon doesn't have the defensive uh, attributes to be able to, stay on top of one of those guys. I think Shane Larkin has improved, and we'll kind of get into Shane Larkin a little bit later in the show. But I think Shane Larkin does a good job, guarding, but he doesn't get all the minutes that he's supposed to. Where I think, honestly, you and I talked about this last night. We think that Calderon is a huge disappointment from all the hype that was building around him and whatnot. But as far as the Quincy Acey thing's concerned, it is what it is. And if we would have had Quincy Acey last night, I think we would have been able to pull the game through because, and you and I are going to get into last night's game a little bit further, but going into overtime last night, especially with Aldridge, fouling out of the game, someone like Quincy Acey, a bigger guy, would have came in handy because Cousins was tearing us apart. And I remember telling you last night, I was like, you know what? It's just coming down to us not having a bigger guy. We didn't. I mean, we ended up having Jason Smith guard Cousins last night, and when it came down to it, we were just shorthanded. There were more people in suits, like you said, than jerseys on our bench.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, last night games it just came down that especially in overtime that we didn't have anybody to guard. Cousins. And well, let's give credit to the players that they really deserved last night. And one is
Yep.
Cole Aldridge. He
Yep.
was impressive last night. I mean, I'm
Yep.
talking about scoring, defending. I mean, he has lots of room to improve, especially defensively. But listen, he kept us in the game last night. He was one of the very good ones last night. And when he got fouled out, that's when we got into trouble. We didn't have anybody else to guard Cousins.
Yep.
Gallenberg got in foul trouble very quickly. And then we brought Jason Smith. Jason Smith is not a player that can guard, anybody.
Yeah.
Not even mentioning Cousins. Cousins was eating him alive last night. Uh, so basically, yeah, very exciting game last night. I thought offensively, the ball from our end was moving freely, side to side. Great ball movement, great shooting, driving to the basket. I was very impressed with Melo last night. He wasn't just taking shots; he was taking the ball to the basket. You
Yep.
know, um, Very impressed with Shane Larkin. As you said, disappointed with Calderon. But all in all, like you said, we lost the game because we didn't have enough players and enough bigs.
To all the Mellow fans out there, Carmelo Anthony had a great game last night. And I'm not just saying that because he put up 30 plus points. I'm saying that because he moved the ball around. He was super aggressive. And at the same time, he just he played with a lot of effort, something that I haven't been able to see Carmelo Anthony do. If you look at his footwork last night, he looked pretty free. He looked like all the defenders always tend to get on top of him really, and he tend to loosen up a little bit and be able to get out of that and make those shots. So I thought Shane Larkin overall did really great. His speed is tremendous. His speed's kind of like Wall speed whenever Wall picks up his speed and wants to go to the rim. So um, last night Shane Larkin ended up playing 35 minutes. With those 35 minutes that he played, he ended up going 4 for 8 and 14 points. So much power to Shane Larkin last night. So I really hope that Shane Larkin plays more than what we've seen him play. And same thing goes with Aldridge. But that just kind of comes down to Derek Fisher's choice. What do you think about that?
No, definitely. I mean, we're at the point of the season that, I'm not going to say the season is lost, but it's time to give these guys some, playing time. And I'm talking about consistent playing time. I think Shane Larkin needs to be consistently on the floor. Cole Aldridge needs to get more time on the floor, than Samuel Gallenberg. I think these players needs to play consistent, and I think they will improve if they do because last night was a glimpse of it. They were in the game, they got in a groove, and they were able to score and defend. Like he says, Shane Larkin is fast. He can keep up with the other point guard. He can steal. He can create chaos for the other team. Defensively. Of course, he needs to improve. We are not saying he's perfect, but if you give him consistent playing time, you will see that improvement. And as I said before, I was very impressed with Cole Aldridge. I would like to see more time for him, being on the floor. I was very impressed with Melo taking the ball to the basket, instead of settling, for jump shots. He was strong last night. Under the rim, he would rebound. He had, I think, 5 or 6 assists last night. You know, he was just taking it to the basket very strong. I mean, I don't know if his knee is feeling better or what, but last night was one of the few games that we saw him not settling down for like jump shots and taking it really to the basket and taking advantage of that. And he ended up being at the free throw line quite often, which we haven't seen this season. So I just hope that this team will build on this. Even though it was a loss, but it was a very, impressive loss in my opinion. They played hard, they came back, even though they did the same mistake as they did every other game, falling behind early and tried to build a comeback like every other game. But they came back, they tied the game. and they just came up short in overtime, and you know, I think that was because we just didn't have enough players,
That's
to
exactly what
guard
it
it.
was. That's
Yeah,
exactly what it was. We were just short of players. We weren't able to have the type of scores that we want on the court. One person that I have a huge bone to pick with, and that's Hardaway. Um, so inconsistent. Sometimes, I mean, he does things. I mean, he had a huge three-pointer last night. He tied the game up for us last night. I mean, he does, some really good things. But sometimes you have a lot of these moments with him. You just got to scratch your head and see, what the hell was that? And one thing I've noticed with Hardaway is a lot of times where, he steals the ball or we kind of get the ball and he's running for, to score, and he's on that one-on-one to go for the alley-oop. He always misses. It's he's too aggressive. He always tends to miss, or sometimes it's like, all right, just wait for your teammates and be able to, start a play. Don't just try to do that and kind of take on what he's trying to do. He's trying to draw the foul, and he never tends to draw the foul, and he misses. That happened, I think, 3 times last night, and I was so scared when he went to tie the game. I was like, oh gosh, he's gonna miss this too. So, with Hardaway, I just want to see more consistency.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's something that everybody's looking forward to. I mean, he's a very talented young player. I think he's going to be not if not a star, but he's going to be a very good player in NBA. But then, I think this is just growing pain of a young player. I mean, he will learn the game situation and how to take the ball to the basket. So I think Hardaway is one of the players that you have to stay patient with him, even though he gets into your nerves sometimes, and you really get upset over the plays that he does. Sometimes dumb passes, sometimes taking the ball to the basket when he's not supposed to, taking ill-advised shots. But he's a talented player, and he can see that, and then for that, you will give him enough time to work with the coaches and to learn more game situations and then become, the player that we are hoping that he's going to become.
So you said Hardaway's going to be a good NBA player in the league. Does that mean are you hinting at a trade for Hardaway?
No, I don't think Phil is going to trade Hardaway. That's one player I don't think he's going to trade. At least not this year. So, and if he's showing improvement next year, he's going to definitely get a extension. So yeah, I don't think it's gonna happen with Hardaway. If there's any trade, it's gonna involve um,
Shumpert and
J.R.
Jared.
Smith, J.R. Smith, Gallenberg, Jason Smith, and Shumpert. So to be honest, I am fed up with Jason Smith, man.
Yeah,
Jason
I feel
Smith
that way
and
with Dallas.
Gallenberg, even for that matter, Gallenberg, man. They just they need to go, and even if you can find a taker for Calderon, maybe get a good draft pick and a young player, I would even give up Calderon and get rid of that $7 million a year contract for the next 2 years.
So let me ask you this. I know you hinted at. I know you hinted at. J.R. Smith and all these guys being traded or whatnot. One thing that kind of sticks out to me is, you and I talked about us not having enough bench to be able to win the game last night. We ran out of big men last night to be able to cover Cousins. And it just makes me think, did Derek Fisher make the right choice of having Stoudemire rest last night?
Well, it's not a matter of really having a choice. He wasn't really resting. He was out because of a sore knee. So, I mean, if the guy has a sore knee, I mean, what can you do? You just can't play him.
Yeah.
So, he was out, and Marty Stoudemire, he got to have his rests, whether he has a sore knee or not. I mean,
Gotta get those wine baths in.
yeah. So those rests are already set up in the schedule for him. So that's a medical decision that the medical staff makes, and Derek Fisher won't really influence that as much. But yeah, we are shorthanded. I mean, there is not much we can do. I've been hearing lots of good stuff about our second draft pick, the Greek player that I barely can even pronounce his name. he's been carrying it up down in the D League. I would like to see him, up, playing a little bit to see how he plays in the NBA. I'm really, I saw a couple of games down in the D League, and I was very impressed with him, and I'm hoping that he can bring that up and bring it to the NBA level.
Hope so. I hope so. I mean, good grief. Here's the thing. At the end of the day, I did not expect this to be 5-27. We are. Good grief.
Oh
but
man.
This leads me to my next topic. Is Carmelo Anthony article came out where he's saying that this whole entire losing process is, it's killing the team. It's like we're dying, and to me, it's like that the team's going through a rebuilding stage. The team that you basically know what you have on the court. And it's like, you already know that. Don't make those comments. I think what that does is it just questions the locker room a lot, and I think that's the least thing we need. I think the number one thing that we should think about every night watching the Knicks is, all right, let's evaluate talent. Let's see who's worth staying on this team and who's not, and that's what I'm doing almost every night. I mean, it's sad to watch a game and, constantly be behind. I'm always got my calculator right next to me to see, all right, how many more points do we need to tie the game? How many points do we need to, how many points? Gosh, we're trailing by 6 now. We're trailing by 9. We're trailing by 12, and it's always play the pick-me-up game. And I think the best thing we need to do as a team is let's be consistent from first quarter. Let's stop, going behind, 12 points, 9 points, 8 points. There were a lot of times in the game last night where I was like, all right, we're making a comeback. We're only down by 4 or 6 points. Next thing you know, there's a careless foul or there's a careless shot, bad defense. I mean, stuff like that. And the next thing you know, you're trailing by 10 at halftime. Stuff like that kills the team.
No, absolutely. I mean, I agree. I mean, I don't know how he would say the team is dying. I mean, why would he be dying if you're making $25 million a year? I mean, the ones that are dying are the ones that are dying are the fans. Sitting and watch the game and get frustrated every other night. I mean, that's kind of affecting our. You're losing days on our age.
No.
Every time we watch a game, there's a day taking off our life.
Especially when you're watching a West Coast game that ends at 11 o'clock at night, you got to work the next day.
Exactly, and then you got to stay up and watch the game, and then the next day you go to work, So, but to your point, it's kind of, this is what we need. We need the consistency. We need to master the triangle. Those are the things that they need to work on. They need to give Shane Larkins of the world, the Aldridges of the world, more time to play and be consistent and to see who really worth keeping on this team.
So is Shane Larkin the future?
I don't know. I don't know if he's the future. I don't think so.
Yes or no?
I don't think so. No.
No.
So at least because I know he's gonna go after a point guard in the free agency. The Dragon, or Rondo if he's still available. So those players he's gonna go after, and maybe if they keep sharing Larkin, that's just gonna be a backup, which is a pretty good backup. Nothing to take away from Shane Larkin, So
Shane Larkin, he's super energetic. But last night, I've always been the one that's constantly saying, I'm always the one that's saying constantly, whoa, something just popped up in my computer. Something, with, I'm off track now. But I've always been the one that keeps saying, we should get a point guard. But last night, after watching last night's game, I think it's very reasonable for us to consider you're trying to get a big man, maybe a center or a power forward. That's only if obviously we're not going to pursue Stoudemire, I assume, after this year. But with the way he's been playing, I don't know, maybe 1-year contract or so. I don't, it beats me. But I think Quincy Acey has been a really good attribute to this team. I wish he was a little bit bigger than he is. But reality is reality. So the Eastern Conference right now looks good. One of the surprising teams is the Milwaukee Bucks. What's your take on the Bucks and especially the Hawks after last year?
listen, I like the way the Bucks play. You know, a whole bunch of young players, young talent. They hustle, they defend. They're exciting to watch. They're like a early version of some kind of like a Golden State. You know, because Golden State is also a young team, but they're more experienced than the Bucks. You know, you see the Bucks going that direction. You know, with all the young talent that they have. You know, I feel happy for them. I mean, it's good to see teams like that, see young players play with heart, and I'm happy for Jason Kidd getting out of that situation in Brooklyn, and now being able to prove himself with these young players. You know, just like many times you say, he's not getting enough credit because when he was in Brooklyn, they said that he has all the good players. Now that he is in, Milwaukee, they say, well, he got young talent and blah blah. Well, you know what? He's a coach. He's putting it together, and it's nice to see that Jason Kidd is succeeding as a coach.
So let me ask you this: 10 years down the line, where are the Knicks? Actually, not 10 years, 5 years down the line. Do we have
I'm,
a ring?
I'm hoping that 5 years down the line we already have a championship.
Yeah.
I'm hoping we're contending for a championship beginning next year. You know, with the free agents that we're gonna sign. You
Yeah.
know, and hopefully a championship team and a final in about 2 years, hopefully 2 or 3 years, and hopefully
We need to take advantage of how weak the Eastern Conference is now. We really do. I mean, I'm afraid like by the time we get all suited up to go, next thing you know, the East becomes the harder conference. But I doubt it with the way the West is playing. Do you have any NBA championship predictions?
man, it's tough. I mean, West is tough. I don't know. I see. You know, this is the thing though. You never can, you know, write off San Antonio Spurs. You
Yeah.
know, but the way I think the way it goes, that the West Finals is gonna be between Golden State and Dallas.
Who wins?
Tough
I'll
to
tell
say.
you who wins.
Tough to say. I would say Golden State. You know,
I'll say Dallas for one reason.
yeah, more experience.
Experience. Yeah, experience.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, if you want to go by experience, San Antonio, if they have all their players healthy and play, every year people say no, San Antonio too old. Oh no, oh no. But when it goes to playoff, they just play with a different intensity and different levels.
I
So
just think this year they just don't have the stamina for it. I know people said the same thing last year, but I really feel that way this year.
I will never say never to San Antonio and great Coach Pop. You know,
Yeah.
so that's always there. But I think it's going to be between Golden State and Dallas. And the East, you have to give it to Bulls and
Toronto.
Bulls and Toronto, and then in the next down after them, give it to Wizards and Hawks. You know, so
So whoa. No Cleveland? ESPN doesn't like you right
no
about now.
way, Cleveland. I don't think Cleveland gonna make it, man. That's a disaster. That team's a disaster right now. They
Yeah.
can play together. Kevin Love is being benched in the fourth quarters, which I think he will opt out of that contract this summer and become a
I
free
think
agent.
Kevin Love would do great in the Knicks.
I don't think Kevin Love is working for Cavaliers, and he will opt out and be a free agent this summer. It just doesn't work for him. I don't know. I think if he opts out, he's going to end up in West Coast with LA. So that's my thinking. But
He
if
did go to UCLA.
if he ends up with the Knicks, still I think it's going to be a good match. But we still going to need a big man, LaMarcus Aldridge.
You're keen on Marcus Gasol. He's not going to
Dude,
leave.
I like Marc Gasol, man. I am a really big fan of Marc Gasol, and I can say enough how great he would be in a triangle offense. I think you think Shaq was good in a triangle offense. I think Marc Gasol is gonna top Shaq. So with that said, let's just hope and cross our fingers because the way we're playing, God knows if any free agents wants to come over and play for the Knicks. But
Yeah.
if they do, if I have my choice, I'll pick Marc Gasol and the Dragon. And if you have enough money left, why not get Paul Millsap? You know,
Yeah.
so
Paul Millsap's good.
you
He's a
know
hustler.
that would be a great combination. So, but you know what? We just gotta have to wait and be patient. And see what's gonna happen during the trade this year and the free agency next year. So patience, man, patience.
Yeah, keep preaching. So, Knicks fans, that's all I have for you guys. I don't know if my brother's got anything, but keep watching this channel. We're really having a blast doing it. We tend to be consistent with the subscribers we get on a weekly basis, which is cool. So, comment, subscribe, go Knicks. What you got?
Hey, great. Thank you. Thanks our subscribers again for being loyal. We welcome any new subscribers. We would love to have, more of you guys watching our channel. Like my brother said, we enjoy doing this. We enjoy reading your comments and responding to them. So with that said, subscribe, comment, and please hit that like button. Have a wonderful day and go Knicks.
I think you guys should dislike him for saying that. Keep those dislikes coming. Anyway,
Whatever,
go
man.
Knicks.